Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yatha Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavam Sya Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Saganaraganatam Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Sabadutam Parijana Saitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Paran Sahagana Lalita Shivashikam Vitam Sya Om Jnana Timarandasya Gyananjana Shalakya Chakshuram Milidam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah Gurva Bhistam Supurakam Garaganara Sisha Sambhushitam Chintya Chintya Samasta Veda Nipunam Shri Rupa Patanugam Govinda Bidam Ujvalam Bharatanum Bhaktyan Vidam Sundaram Bande Vishwa Gurunsha Divyad Bhagavat Prem Noe Bija Pranam Devam Divyatanum Suchanda Varanam Balarka Chelanshitam Sandrananda Puram Sadeka Varanam Vairagya Vidyambudim Sri Siddhanta Nidhim Subhakti Lasitam Saraswatanam Baram Bandetam Shubharam Mareka Sharanam Yashishwara Shidaram Vanshakopatarubyascha Kripasindubhyevacha Patitanam Pavinibhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah Namo Mahavaranyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namane Gorata Vishe Namah
Om Vishnu Paramahamsa Prabhakacharya Sila Bhakti Pavanjana Maharaj Ki
So we're hearing from Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita by Srila Krishna Das Kaviraj Goswami, translation and commentary by Srila Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. This is Madhya-lila, chapter 10, the Lord's return to Jagannath Puri. Start with verse number 120. This is where Swarup Damodar has come to Puri to be with Mahaprabhu. Utaya Mahaprabhu Koila Lingan Duijanib Premaveshe Hoila Chaitan Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu raised Swarup Damodar to his feet and embraced him. They both became ecstatic in love and fell unconscious. This is after Swarup Damodar had come and offered his obeisances and prayers to Mahaprabhu. Katakane duwijane stira chabe hoila tabe Mahaprabhu tare kohite lagila. After they had regained their patience, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu began to speak. Tumije asibe aji swapnete dekila balo hoila andajena dui netra paila. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, I saw in a dream that you were coming, and so this is very auspicious. I've been like a blind man, but your coming here restores my vision. Swarup Kohe Prabhu Mara Kama Aparad Tomachari Anyatra Jenu Korinu Pramad. Swarup Damodar said, My dear Lord, please excuse my offense. I gave up your company to go elsewhere, and that was my great mistake. Tomara chana nemor nahi prema lesh tomachare papi mui jenu anyadesh. My dear Lord, I do not possess even a trace of love for your lotus feet. If I did, how could I have gone to another country? I'm therefore a most sinful man. So the word here for desh, for another country, is desh. So there are many different states in India, and there's Bengal, and then going to Vrindavan, there's Uttar Pradesh, and many different states, and they speak different languages. So they're called desh. Here it's translated as country, because you can say that they're all like different countries, although they're within India. Muitoma charilu, muitoma charila tumi morana charila, kripa pasha galibandi charane anila. I gave up your company, but you did not give me up. By your rope of mercy you have bound me by the neck and brought me back again to your lotus feet. Tabe Swarup Koila Nitar Charana Bandhan Nityananda Prabhu Koila Prema Alingan Swarup Damodar. Then worshiped the lotus feet of Nityananda Prabhu, and Nityananda Prabhu in turn embraced him in the ecstasy of love. Jagannath Mukunda Shankar Sarvabhauma Sabha Sange Jata Jogya Korila Milan. After worshipping Nityananda Prabhu, Swarup Damodar met Jagannatha Mukunda Shankar and Sarvabhauma, as was befitting. Paramananda Purir Koila Charana Bandhan Puri Gosai Tare Koila Prema Alingan. Swarup Damodar also offered his worshipful prayers at the lotus feet of Paramananda Puri, who in return embraced him in ecstatic love. Mahaprabhu Dilatare Nibrite Vasagar Jaladi Parischarya Lage Dila Ek Kinkar. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu then gave Swarup Damodar residence in a solitary place and ordered a servant to serve him with a supply of water and other necessities. Aradin Sarvabhauma Ari Bhakta Sange Basiya Achena Mahaprabhu Krishna Kata Range. And the next day Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu sat with all the devotees headed by Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, and they discussed the pastimes of Krishna. Henakale Govindera Hoila Ache Hoila Agaman Dandavat Kore Kohe Vinoy Bachan. At that time Govinda appeared on the scene, offered his respectful obeisances, and spoke submissively. Ishwara Purir Britya Govinda Moranam Puri Gosar Agyaya Ainu Tomarastan. I am the servant of Ishwara Puri. My name is Govinda, and following the orders of my spiritual master, I have come here. Siddha Prapti Kale Gosai Agya Koila More Krishna Chaitanya Nikate Rohe Sevya Tahare. Just before his departure from this mortal world to attain the highest perfection, Ishwara Puri told me that I should go to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and render service unto him. Kashishvara Asibena Sabtirtha Dekya Prabhu Agyaya Mui Ainu Tomapare Daya. Kashishvar will also come here after visiting all the holy places. However, following the orders of my spiritual master, I have hastily come to be present at your lotus feet. Gosai Kohila Purishwara Vatsalya Kore More Kripa Kore Moratai Pataila Tomare. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu replied, my spiritual master Ishwara Puri always favors me with paternal affection. Therefore, out of his causeless mercy, he has sent you here. Eta Shuni Sarvabhauma Prabhure Pachila Purigosai Shudra Sevak Kohet Taurakila. After hearing this, Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya asked Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, why did Ishwara Puri keep a servant who comes from a Shudra family? Both Kashishvar and Govinda were personal servants of Ishwara Puri. After Ishwara Puri's demise, Kashishvar went to visit all the holy places of India. Following the orders of his spiritual master, Govinda immediately went to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu for shelter. Govinda came from a Shudra family, but because he was initiated by Ishwara Puri, he was certainly a Brahmin. Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya here asked Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu why Ishwara Puri accepted a disciple from a Shudra family. According to the Smriti Shastra, which gives directions for the management of the Varnashram institution, a Brahmin cannot accept a disciple from the lower caste. In other words, a Kshatriya, Vaishya, or Shudra cannot be accepted as a servant. If a spiritual master accepts such a person, he is contaminated. Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya therefore asked why Ishwara Puri accepted a servant or a disciple born of a Shudra family. In answer to this question, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu replied that his spiritual master Ishwara Puri was so empowered that he was as good as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. As such, Ishwara Puri was the spiritual master of the whole world. He was not a servant of any mundane rule or regulation. An empowered spiritual master like Ishwara Puri can bestow his mercy upon anyone, irrespective of caste or creed. The conclusion is that an empowered spiritual master is authorized by Krishna and his own guru and should therefore be considered as good as the Supreme Personality of Godhead himself. That is the verdict of Vishwanath Chakravarti, Sakshad Darit Vena. An authorized spiritual master is as good as Hari. As Hari is free to act as he likes, the empowered spiritual master is also free. As Hari is not subject to mundane rules and regulations, the spiritual master empowered by him is also not subject, according to the Chaitanya Charitamrita. Krishna Shakti Bina Nahe Tara Pravartan. An authorized spiritual master empowered by Krishna can spread the glories of the holy name of the Lord, for he has power of attorney from the Supreme Personality of Godhead. In the mundane world, anyone possessing his master's power of attorney can act on behalf of his master. Similarly, a spiritual master empowered by Krishna through his own bona fide spiritual master should be considered as good as the Supreme Personality of Godhead himself. That is the meaning of Sakshad Daritvena. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu therefore describes the activities of the Lord and the bona fide spiritual master as follows. Prabhu kohe Ishwara hoye parama swatantra Ishwar kripa nahe beda paratantra. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, both the Supreme Personality of Godhead and my spiritual master Ishwara Puri are completely independent. Therefore, neither the mercy of the Lord nor that of Ishwara Puri is subject to any Vedic rules and regulations. Ishwarer kripa jati kuladina mane vidurera kare Krishna korila bojane. The mercy of the Lord is not restricted to the jurisdiction of caste and creed. Vidura was a Shudra, yet Krishna accepted lunch at his home. Sneho Leshapeka Matra Shri Krishna Kripar Sneho Vasha Sneho Vask Haya Kore Swatantra Achar. Lord Krishna's mercy is dependent only on affection. Being obliged only by affection, Lord Krishna acts very independently. Paryara hoite koti shuka sneho acharane paramananda hoy charanama shravane. In conclusion, dealings in affection with the Supreme Personality of Godhead bring happiness many millions of times greater than dealings with him in non-veneration. Simply by hearing the holy name of the Lord, the devotee is merged in transcendental bliss. Etabole Govindere Koila Alingan Govinda Korila Prabhu Charana Bandhan. After saying that, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu embraced Govinda, and Govinda in turn offered his respectful obeisances under Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's lotus feet. Prabhu Kohe Bhattacharya Koraha Bichar Guru Kinkara Hoy Manya Sa Amar. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu then continues speaking to Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya. Consider this point. The servant of the spiritual master is always respectable for me. Tahare apana seva karaitena jujai guru agya diyachena kikori upai. As such, it is not befitting that the Guru's servant should engage in my personal service. Yet my spiritual master has given this order. What shall I do? Batako he Guru agya hoy balavan Guru agya nal langiye shastra praman. Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya said, the order of the spiritual master is very strong and cannot be disobeyed. That is the injunction of the Shastras, the revealed scriptures. Sa sushruvan matari bhargavena pitor niyogat pravritam dishadvat pratyagrihid agraja shosha shashanam tad agya gurunam e avicharantya. Being ordered by his father, Parsuram killed his mother, Renuka, just as if she were an enemy. When Lakshman, the younger brother of Lord Ramachandra, heard of this, he immediately engaged himself in the service of his elder brother and accepted his orders. The order of the spiritual master must be obeyed without consideration. Nirvicharam Guroragya Mayakarya Mahatmana Shreyo Yevam Bhavatyascha Mama Chaiva Visheshata. The order of a great personality, like a father, must be executed without consideration, because there is good fortune. Because there is good fortune in such an order for both of us. In particular, there's good fortune for me. So these are extreme examples of being ordered by his father. Parsuram killed his mother, Renuka, just as if she were an enemy. But then Parsuram could bring her back to life. But it's an extreme example of following. Tabe Mahaprabhu tare koila angikar apana Shri Anga Seva Dila Adhikar. After Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya said this, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu embraced Govinda and engaged him in the service of his personal body. Prabhura Priya Britya Kore Sabe Kore Man Sakala Vaishnavera Govinda Kore Samadan. Everyone respected Govinda as the dearest servant of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And Govinda served all the Vaishnavas and saw to their needs. Chota Bora, Kirtaniya, Dui Haridas, Ramai Nandai, Rohe, Govindara Pash. Both Haridas Senior and Haridas Junior, who were musicians, and as Chota and Bora Haridas Senior and Haridas Junior were musicians. So, as well as Ramai and Nandai, both Haridas Senior and Haridas Junior, who were musicians, as well as Ramai and Nandai, used to stay with Govinda. Govinda Sange Kore Prabhur Seva. So this Haridas Senior and Haridas Junior, they're musicians. This doesn't refer to Haridas Thakur. Govindera Sange Kore Prabhur Sevan, Govindera Bhagya Sima Najai Varnan. They all remain with Govinda to serve Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Therefore, no one could estimate the good fortune of Govinda. Aradine Mukunda Datta Kohe Prabhustane Brahmananda Bharati Aila Tumara Darshane. The next day, Mukunda Datta informed Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Brahmananda Bharati has come to see you. Agyadeho jadi tare aniye etai Prabhu kohe guru teho jeva taratai. Mukunda Datta then asked the Lord, shall I bring him here? Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, Brahmananda Bharati is like my guru, like my spiritual master. Is better that I go to him. Eta bole Mahaprabhu Bhakta Gana Sange Chali Aila Brahmananda Bharatira Age. After saying this, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and his devotees came into the presence of Brahmananda Bharati. Brahmananda Parijache Mrigacharambar Tahadeki Prabhu Duka Paila Antar. When Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and his devotees approached him, they saw that Brahmananda Bharati was covered with a deerskin. He was wearing a deerskin. Seeing this, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu became very unhappy. Dekiyana Chadma Koila Jena Dekinani Mukundere Puche Kahan Bharati Gosai. Seeing Brahmananda Bharati wearing the deerskin, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu pretended not to see him. Indeed, he asked Mukunda Datta, where is Brahmananda Bharati, my spiritual master? Mukunda Kohe E Age Deka Vidyaman Prabhu Kohe Teho Nahen Tumi Age Jan. Mukunda Datta replied, here is Brahmananda Bharati in your presence. The Lord replied, you are mistaken. This is not Brahmananda Bharati. Acharjare Anya Kaha Nahi Tomar Gyan Bharati Gosai Kene Paribena Cham. You must be talking of someone else, for this is surely not Brahmananda Bharati. You simply have no knowledge. Why should Brahmananda Bharati wear a deerskin? Shuni Brahmananda Kori Ridaya Vichare Mora Charmambar E Na Baya Ihare. When Brahmananda Bharati heard this, he thought, my deerskin is not approved by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Balokohen Charambar Damba Lagi Pari Charambara Paridane Samsaranathori. Thus admitting his mistake, Brahmananda Bharati thought, he spoke well. I put on this deerskin only for prestige. I cannot cross over the ocean of Neshan simply by wearing a deerskin. Aji hoite na pariba e charambar prabhu bahirvas anaila janiyantar. From today on I shall not wear the deerskin. As soon as Brahmananda Bharati decided this, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, understanding his mind, immediately sent for the robes of a sannyasi. Charambara Chari Brahmananda Parilavasan Prabhuase Koilatara Charana Bandhan. As soon as Brahmananda Bharati gave up his deerskin and covered himself with sannyasi robes, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came and offered his respects at his lotus feet. Bharati Kohe Tomar Achar Loka Shikaite Punana Karibe Nati Baya Payachite. Brahmananda Bharati said, you instruct the general populace by your behavior. I will not do anything against your wishes. Otherwise you will not offer me respects, but will neglect me. I am afraid of this. Sampratika Dui Brahma Ihan Chala Chal Jagannatha Chala Brahma Tumitas Sachal. At the present moment, I see two Brahmins. One Brahman is Lord Jagannath, who does not move, and the other Brahman, who is moving, is you. Lord Jagannath is the Archavigraha, the worshipable deity, and it is he who is the non-moving Brahman. But you are Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and you are moving here and there. The two of you are the same Brahman, master of the material nature, but you are playing two parts, one moving and one not moving. In this way, two Brahmans are residing at Jagannath Puri, Purushottama. Tumi Gora Varnateho Shamala Varnan Dui Brahme Koila Sab Jagat Taran. Of the two Brahmins, you are fair complexioned, and the other, Lord Jagannath, is blackish. Both of you are delivering the whole world. Prabhu Kohe Satya Kohe Tomara Agamane Dui Brahma Prakatila Sri Purushottame. Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu replied, actually, to tell you the truth, due to your presence here, there are now two Brahmins at Jagannath Puri. Brahmananda Nama Tumi Gora Brahmachal Shamavarna Jagannatha Vasiachin Vachal. Both Brahmananda and Gaurahari are moving, whereas the blackish Lord Jagannath is sitting tight and immobile. Both Brahmananda and Gaurahari are moving, whereas the blackish Lord Jagannath is sitting tight and immobile. Bharati Kohe Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya Iharish Sane Amara Nyaya Bujamanadiya. So what's reflected here is that Brahmananda Bharati stands corrected by Mahaprabhu for wearing deerskin, but then he also says this is something that should be done because Mahaprabhu is the Supreme Lord himself, and one should recognize that, one should accept otherwise I don't want to be neglected by him. I don't want him not to give me his association because I'm wearing a deerskin. So he says, so then Brahmananda Bharati says to Mahaprabhu, I accept your order because there's two Brahmans here. One is Lord Jagannath, who's not moving, and the other is yourself, who moves here and there. And then Mahaprabhu, we see that his nature is he considers himself, he always presents himself not as the Supreme Lord, but as a man. So he says, yes, there's you two. He says, there's you, Brahmananda Bharati, and me, and then there's Lord Jagannath who doesn't move. So Lord Chaitanya is saying that it's not acknowledging that he's the Supreme Lord. That's the nature of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He presents himself as a person, not as the Supreme Lord, but as an ordinary person. But the devotees don't accept that. But Mahaprabhu, that's his nature, his humility. Bharati Kohe Sarvabhauma Madhyastahaya Ihara Sanayamar Nyaya Bujamanadiya. Brahmananda Bharati said, my dear Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, please become the mediator of this logical argument between Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and me. Vyapya Vyapaka Bhave Jiva Brahme Jani Jiva Vyapya Brahma Vyapaka Shastrate Vakani. Brahmananda Bharati continued, the living entity is localized, whereas the Supreme Brahman is all-pervading. That is the verdict of the revealed scriptures. Charma Guchaya Koila Amare Sodan Dohara Vyapya Vyapakatbhai Eta Karan. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu purified me by taking away my deerskin. That is the proof that he is all-pervasive and all-powerful, and that I am subordinate to him. Suvarna Varna Hemango Varangas Chandanagadi Sannyasa Krits Chama Shanta Nishta Shanti Parayana. His bodily hue is golden, and his whole body is like molten gold. Every part of his body is very beautifully constructed and smeared with sandalwood pulp. Accepting the renounced order, the Lord is always equipoised. He is firmly fixed in his mission of chanting the Hare Krishna mantra, and he is firmly situated in the dualistic conclusion and in his peace. This is a quote from Mahabharata's Vishnu Sahasranama Stotra, which establishes the divinity of Mahaprabhu. Esab namera iha hoy nijaspad chandan nakta prasadora Shri Buje Angad. All the symptoms mentioned in the verse from the Vishnu Sahasra Nama Stotra are visible in the body of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. His arms are decorated with sandalwood pulp, and the thread received from the Sri Jagannath deity, and these are his ornamental bangles. All the symptoms mentioned in the verse from the Vishnu Sahasranam Stotra are visible in the body of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. His arms are decorated with sandalwood pulp, and the thread received from the Sri Jagannath deity, and these are his ornamental bangles. Bhattacharya kohe bharati deke tomar jai, Prabhu kohe jai koha se satya hoy. After hearing this, Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya rendered his judgment, saying, Brahmananda Bharati, I see that you are victorious. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu immediately said, I accept whatever Brahmananda Bharati has said. It is quite all right with me. Because Mahaprabhu says he's accepting Brahmananda Bharati in the position of the Guru, because Guru Sashyunyaye Satya Sishyara Parajay Bharati Kohe Ehonahi Anya Hetu Hoy. Mahaprabhu then posed himself as a disciple and accepted Brahmananda Bharati as his spiritual master. He then said, the disciple is certainly defeated in an argument with the spiritual master. Brahmananda Bharati immediately countered these words, saying, this is not the cause of your defeat. There is another cause. Bhaktatai haratumi etomara swabham ara ekshuna tumi apana prabhav. It is your natural characteristic to accept defeat at the hands of your devotee. There is also another glory of yours, which I ask you to hear attentively. Ajanma korinu mui nirakara jyan tomadeke Krishna hoila mora vidyaman. I've been meditating on the impersonal Brahman since my birth, but since I have seen you, I have fully experienced Krishna. Krishna nama svure muke mane netre Krishna tomake tadrupadeki hridaya satrishna. Ramananda Bharati continues, since I have seen you, I have been feeling Lord Krishna's presence in my mind and have been seeing him before my eyes. I now want to chant the holy name of Lord Krishna. Over and above this, within my heart, I consider you to be Krishna, and I'm therefore very eager to serve you. So Brahmananda Bharati said, I'm worshiping the Supreme Brahman my whole life in a personal way. But now that I've been in the presence of Mahaprabhu, my consciousness is changing to the worship of him and the worship of Krishna. Bilva Mangal Koila Jaiche Dasha Apanar Ihadeki Se Dasha Hoila Amar. Bilva Mangal Thakur abandoned his impersonal realization for the realization of the personality of Godhead. I now see that my condition is similar to his, for it has already changed. So Brahmananda Bharati said, acknowledged that he, in the presence of Mahaprabhu, his conception of life had changed, and he was no longer attracted to impersonalism, but he was attracted to the worship of Krishna. And this is a verse by Bilva Mangal Thakur. Advaita Viti Patikar Upasya Swananda Semasana Labda Diksha Hatena Kenape Vayam Hatena Dashi Krita Gopa Vadu Vitena. Brahmananda Bharati concluded, although I was worshipped by those on the path of monism and initiated into self-realization through the yoga system, I have nonetheless been forcibly turned into a maidservant by some cunning boy who was always joking with the gopis. So Bilva Mangal says, before, when I was immersed in impersonal conception of life, or I was seen as a exalted personality like a spiritual master by many, but then now my whole vision of life has changed, and I've been converted into a maidservant by Krishna, by some cunning boy who's always in the always joking with the gopis. Prabhu kohe Krishna tomar gara prema hoy jahan netra pare tahan Sri Krishna svaroy. Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu replied, you have a deep ecstatic love for Krishna, therefore wherever you turn your eyes, you simply heighten your Krishna consciousness. Bhattacharya kohe dohara susatya bachan age jade Krishna dena sakat darshan. Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya said, the statements of both of you are correct. Krishna gives direct audience through his mercy. Prema vina kabunahe tara sakatkar ihara kripate hoy darashana ihar. Without having ecstatic love for Krishna, one cannot see him directly. Therefore, through the mercy of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Brahmananda Bharati has acquired direct vision of the Lord. Prabhu kohe Vishnu Vishnu ki kaha Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya hoy e nindara lakan. Mahaprabhu says Vishnu Vishnu. This means whenever someone is addressing Mahaprabhu as the Supreme Lord, he says Vishnu Vishnu, like this is an offense to consider an ordinary person as the Supreme Lord. Mahaprabhu protests in that way. But his devotees, although he may say he's not the Lord, he's just a human being, his devotees will not accept that. Prabhu kohe Vishnu Vishnu ki kaha Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya hoy e nindara lakan. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, what are you saying? Lord Vishnu, save me. Such glorification is simply another form of blasphemy. Etabole Bharatire loya nijabasa aila Bharati Gosai Prabhura Nikate Rohila. After saying this, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu took Brahmananda Bharati with him to his residence. From that time on, Brahmananda Bharati remained with Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Ramabhadracharya Ara Bhagavanacharya Prabhupada Rakila Duhechari Sarvakarya. Later, Ramabhadra Acharya and Bhagavanacharya joined them, and giving up all other responsibilities remained under Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's shelter. Kashishwara Gosai, Aila Aradine, Samana, Korea Prabhu, Rakila, Nijastane. The next day, Kashishwar Gosai also came and remained with Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who received him with great respect. Prabhu ke loya karya na Ishwara darshan age lok bida sab kore nivedan. Prabhu ke loya kora na Ishwara darshan age loka banda age loka bida sab kore nivaran. Prabhu ke loya kora na Ishwara darshan age loka bida sab kore nivaran. Kashishwar used to usher Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu into the Jagannath temple. He would precede the Lord into the crowd and keep the people from touching him. So the next day, Kashishwar Gosai also came and remained with Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who received him with great respect. Kashishwar Gosai, Aila Aratine, Saman Korea Prabhu, Rakila Nijastani. So Kashishwar would go before the Lord, and he would keep the crowds from pressing too much on Mahaprabhu. Prabhu ke loya kora na Ishwara darshan age lok bida sab kore nivaran. Kashishwar used to usher Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu into the Jagannath temple. He would precede the Lord into the crowd and keep the people from touching him. Jatanara Nari Jaiche Samudre Miloy Ache Aiche Mahaprabhu Bhakta Jahan Tahahoy. As all the rivers flow into the seas, all the devotees throughout the country finally came to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's shelter. Savyashe Milila Prabhu Sri Charane Prabhu Kripa Kore Sabai Rakila Nijastane. Since all the devotees came to him for shelter, Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu showed them all mercy and kept them under his protection. Eta Kohila Prabhu Vaishnava Milan Ihaje Shunipai Chaitanya Charan. Thus I have described the meeting of all the Vaishnavas with Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Whoever hears this description ultimately attains shelter at his lotus feet. Shri Rupa Raghunath Parijaras Chaitanya Charitamrita Kohe Krishna Das. Praying at the lotus feet of Shri Rupa and Shri Raghunath, always desiring their mercy, I Krishna Das narrate Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, following in their footsteps. Thus then the Bhaktivedanta purports to Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, Madhya-lila, 10th chapter, describing the Lord's meeting the Vaishnavas upon his return to Jagannath Puri from South India. Hari Haraya Nama Krishna Jaravaya Nama Haraya Nama Krishna Jaravaya Nama Janavaya Madhavaya Keshavaya Namah Madhavaya Madhavaya Keshavaya Namah Gopa Govinda Ram Shri Madhusudan Gopa Govinda Ram Shri Madhusudan Giridhari Gopinatha Maranamon Giridhari Gopinatha Maranamon Sri Chaitanya Nityananda Sri Advaita Chandra Chaitanya Nityananda Sri Advaita Chandra Saradara Shiva Sari Gora Bhattacharya Saradara Shiva Sari Gora Bhattacharya Sarupa Sanatam Bhattacharya Sarupa Sanatam Bhattacharya Sri Jiva Gopala Bhattacharya Sri Jiva Gopala Bhattacharya Hey Chai Gosai Kori Charana Bandam Hey Chai Gosai Kori Charana Bandam Javaite Vignana Shami Stapuran Javaite Vignana Shami Stapuran Hey Chai Gosai Jarmui Karadas Jai Gosai Jarmui Karadas Dasavar Pararenu Mora Panchagras Dasavar Pararenu Mora Panchagras Kadir Charana Sevi Bhakta Sanibas Kadir Charana Sevi Bhakta Sanibas Janame Janame More Ambilas Janame Janame More Ambilas Hey Chai Gosai Jabe Braje Koilabas Chai Gosai Jabe Braje Koilabas Radha Krishna Nitya Lila Korila Prakash Radha Krishna Nitya Lila Korila Prakash Anande Bolo Hari Bhaja Vrindavan Anande Bolo Hari Bhaja Vrindavan Shri Guru Vaishnava Pade Majai Amar Shri Guru Vaishnava Pade Majai Amar Shri Guru Vaishnava Pad Padma Koriyan Shri Guru Vaishnava Pad Padma Koriyan Hari Nam Sankirtana Kohe Naratamunda Hari Nam Sankirtana Kohe Jai Saparikara Shishi Guru Guranga Gandharvika Giridhara Juki Jai. Jai Om Vishnupad Srila Bhakti Tilak Neri Maharaj Ki Jai. Jai Om Vishnupad Srila Bhakti Nirmalacharya Maharaj Ki Jai. Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Paravajakacharya Ashtatara Sadashri Shrimad Srila Bhakti Sundar Govinda Dev Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai. Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Paravajakacharya Ashtatara Sadashri Shrimad Srila Bhakti Rakak Sridhar Dev Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai. Jai Bhagavan Srila Bhakti Sunanta Saraswati Goswami Thakur Ki Jai. Jai Om Vishnupad Srila Gaur Kishore Das Babaji Maharaj Ki Jai. Jai Om Vishnupad Srila Satchidananda Bhakti Vinod Thakur Ki Jai. Jai Om Vishnupad Vaishnava Sarvabhauma Srila Jagannath Das Babaji Maharaj Ki Jai. Rupanuga Guru Bharga Ki Jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Shri Rupa Sanatana Bhatta Raghunath Shri Jiva Gopal Bhattadash Raghunath Shad Goswami Prabhu Ki Jai. Premsigo Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Shri Gaura Bhaktavrinda Ki Jai. Jai Shri Vrindavan Das Thakur Ki Jai. Shri Chaitanya Bhagwat Ki Jai. Jai Shri Krishna Das Kaviraj Goswami Prabhu Ki Jai. Jai Shri Chaitanya Charitamrita Ki Jai. Vishwavaranya Srila Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj Prabhupada Ki Jai. Jai Om Vishnupad Srila Bhakti Kusham Ashram Maharaj Ki Jai. Ananda Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai. Shri Namadev Dham Ki Jai. Shri Mayapur Ki Jai. Saparshada Shri Nityananda Prabhu Ki Jai. Saparshada Shriman Mahaprabhu Ki Jai. Shri Koladvip Ki Jai. Shri Chaitanya Saraswat Mat Ki Jai. Sokel Shri Chaitanya Saraswat Sevashram Ki Jai. Ganga Devi Ki Jai. Tulasi Maharani Ki Jai. Bhakti Devi Ki Jai. Shri Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai. Shri Shri Radha Krishna Go Gopi Govardhan Sham Kuna Radha Kunda Kalindi Yamuna Jo Ki Jai. Samaveda Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. Shri Harinam Sankirtan Ki Jai. Shripad Bhakti Raman Madhav Maharaj Ki Jai. All the assembled devotees Ki Jai. Gaur Premanande Hare Hare Bol. And